Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is September the 20th, 2022, and today the topic is husbands and wives. I hope that you all had a great Monday. Mine was just fine. I find that my Mondays are kind of like weekend days, depending on if I have something to do. Because pre-pandemic, I would usually be working on weekends and stuff like that. And now the work is different, but yeah, either I'll be working to some sort, or I would be kind of spending time with family now, or church and whatnot on the weekends. But usually, like a Monday, sometimes becomes like do nothing days for me. And so that's kind of how it was yesterday. Even though I intended on working on the freelance work again, I just by the time I was gonna do it, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, outside of that, I was getting rest yesterday, and yeah, that's pretty much how yesterday looked for me. Outside of being a mom and all that. So yeah, I mean, today there's a little bit more on the schedule. I am scheduled to do an episode of GSL, as well as check out financial fitness later on. Um, that small group that I'm a part of. So yeah, that's what my day looks like. But we'll see what else the Lord do in the midst of that. But let's get into this conversation about husbands and wives. Well, when I did my prayer meditation this morning and I listened to that, and I don't know, I was a little bit distracted. I ended up getting on social media and scrolling, and there's a few things that I saw that could have led to this idea. Also something I heard last night. There's these different social media influencers, and every now and then they'll do Q&As and things of that nature, and it's just very interesting to hear like what the younger generation has to say about marriage and dating and all these different things. And I guess I find it interesting because I know that there's a lot of people that will be listening to this said influencer, especially probably young women, and she has a unique perspective of marriage and whatnot. It's something that I guess she desires, but then also doesn't necessarily care about in this moment. She was somebody that was engaged, and I guess that didn't work out, the previous relationship or whatever the case is. And so now she's kind of like doing her and making entrepreneur moves and all these different things like that. And so she has a great influence and whatnot in regards to the people that are following her and everything like that. And to be honest, sometimes again, based on my own experience being a single woman, or a single Christian woman in particular, for me, obviously, well, y'all should know, as part of my journey was kind of like hyping up marriage. Like I always thought up highly of it. I always desired it. When I was dating, I was always kind of looking for my man and all that type of stuff. So I went through my own journey with all of that, and y'all know that I wrote about it, and everything like that in my book. But I guess, I mean, reflecting on that and everything, and also coming across another social media post about this person that is like, I guess, doing quote unquote wifely duties for her boyfriend, in the hopes to get married, even though it was very interesting because apparently it's not funny, but um the article about it was like, oh, they've been together 9 years. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, honestly, I mean, not to say that people that are together that long won't eventually get married or something like that, but from what I'm understanding from men, like the little bit that I've heard from men, is that it don't take that long for them to know. Now, I'm not a man, I'm just telling y'all what I've heard. Y'all done heard it, different men speak here on GSL and whatnot. And those that are married, I mean, I believe that they have said at some point that they didn't take them that long to know who their wife was and everything like that. So, I mean, again, there's a lot to be said and to learn when it comes to marriage and being a wife and being a husband. And what I'm learning the most thus far is that, whatever preconceived notions that I have about marriage and being a wife and all that stuff kind of goes out the window when you become one. You know, because what I'm learning in particular is that, I'm focusing on my husband and what he desires and whatnot in particular, and not like this generalization of what men want. And same for me. Like, I'm pretty sure maybe, he's looking, like at me in particular and not like what women want. Because I mean, that can be very, very different depending on who you're with, right? And so, what does the Lord have to say about this? Well, first, let me read you all what I came across in regards to the definitions of wife and husband. So I guess this is what the world has to say. Husband says a married man considered in relation to his spouse. Wife says a married woman considered in relation to her spouse. Now, I don't know if that's been changed. I don't know if they took husband and switched it to say spouse. I don't know. I'm just telling y'all what the definition says now in 2022. Then I looked at the definition of marriage, and that says the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship, historically and in some jurisdictions, specifically a union between a man and woman. That's what it currently says in 2022 for the definition of marriage. So now, biblically, we know that that's a little bit different. Biblically, it says a God-ordained covenant relationship between a man and a woman. So yeah, husbands and wives. I mean, there's plenty that the Bible has to say to husbands and wives together as well as individually. And I guess I'm gonna touch on some of that. I'm gonna share some of that. Man, okay, there was something that came to my mind, but maybe it'll come back. But anyway, let's get into what the Bible has to say then. Let's see what the Bible has to say to the husbands and wives. So Ephesians 5:31 says, therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Now, obviously, this is in multiple ways. I guess spiritually, you become in one flesh. Physically, you become one flesh. But yeah, and I guess this is something that I have to continue to work on receiving as a wife, that, it's not just me, anymore. Like, yeah, right now I'm kind of battling this whole thing of like wanting to contribute, right? And I know I even said the other day, I want to say it was sometime last week, that I was like, oh, it seems like women look down on their positions. And so, yeah, maybe in some aspects, maybe I look down on my position as wife. I mean, because in a lot of ways, I know I kind of joke about it, but I have become a housewife of some sort. And that was never my intention. It was never my goal to become a housewife. Yeah, I wanted to be a wife. But I never thought about like being somebody that was just going to be at home doing things. Because again, I've had so many, I guess, entrepreneurial spirit within me, but I'm seeing that, there's a lot that I can do from home. Still entrepreneurial. Again, I could be that Proverbs 31 woman who, obviously had a lot to do at home, but, obviously had things outside of the home as well going on. So that's just me. That's just one little testimony on my end, like something that I'm kind of still finding balance with, because, I find myself keep having these conversations with my husband, like, I want to be able to contribute, or I want to be able to, feel like I have, or whatever the case is. And then on his end, I see that there's a lot of things that he's, I guess taking on and doing and moves and the thing that I love now that he's doing is it seems as if he's really going for his passions and his, the things that he does well. And I'm happy to see him do that. And, not trying to, say I had anything to do with it per se, because I mean, again, he had to come up to his own conclusion in that area. But, maybe that is something that I've tried to encourage, because again, seeing the alternative, see him do things that he doesn't enjoy isn't good either, so I see him making moves, and I love the different ideas and plans that he comes up with for us and everything like that. And it does free me, in a lot of ways as well. And so it's just very interesting, this joining together of two people. And honestly, I don't know if I could imagine that with someone else, if that makes any sense. Like, I hate to think back on this, and no offense to the gentleman that I was with before him, but I just don't see the moves and things that are currently being made in my life. I don't see that happening with that individual. Based on how that interaction was. Like, there was a lot of things that kind of showed me that maybe he might not be the leader for me. My ex, y'all, I'm talking about my ex. But there's a lot of things about my husband that I can appreciate now, because again, like when he tells me about different ideas and different plans, I'm over here like, I'm in agreement with that. I'm with you, how can we do that? How can I help do that and everything? So yeah, who you marry is very important. Like who you marry and come into that union with is very, very important. But anyway, let's keep going, y'all. So let's see what else we have to say. Ephesians 5:33. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. The very interesting thing is, as I was reading today, I found a lot of verses that tells the husband to love their wife. Yeah, so that's one thing that stood out to me. And it's very interesting that this verse is telling the wife to respect her husband. Again, I mean, I can see that where a disconnect is, especially in modern day interactions between men and women, or husbands and wives in particular. That it does seem to be a disconnect there, because wives, we may feel like, oh, I don't feel that love from my husband, X, Y, and Z, and then in turn sometimes there's these narratives that the husband don't feel like he's being respected. So it's very interesting, again, that the word addresses this specifically and tells both of the individuals that, hey, this is what to do. But let's keep going. Let's keep going again. Ephesians 5:25, it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. I know I brought up this verse the other day. But anyway, yeah. I don't know. For some reason, it seems like we make light of that, like that, but that's kind of huge. Like, I mean, he gave up himself for her. That's what Christ did, right? For the church. And if the husbands are asked to be, to do that is a huge thing. I mean, again, I can see there's a lot of ways that my husband kind of sacrifices for us. Like, again, the jobs that he had previously and things like that, obviously he was working and doing those things to, for us, in turn, like for me and our son and everything. And I do see that, his temperament and whatnot. I do feel a love from him, and whatnot. And I mean, I hope that he feels that I respect him in his position and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just very interesting, y'all. I mean, if we're going to be in these positions, right? If you're going to be a wife, then, let's respect our husband. If you're going to be a husband, love your wife. What does that mean? I'm sure we're going to go deeper about that in a moment, but let's go to wives for a second, right? So Proverbs 31:10, it says, an excellent wife who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. An excellent wife. I mean, again, there is that meditation that was created on our platform now that you guys can check out, that is all about the Proverbs 31 woman and everything like that. And she sounds amazing. She sounds like an amazing woman. I can see some similarities between me and her, but then there's some things I don't see in me yet. But we're gonna see what the Lord do with me becoming a little bit more, well, I want to become more like Christ, but then like become more like her as well as Christ. Like a like a nice marriage between the two is what I feel like I need to become. Um, but yeah, who can find an excellent? It says who can find. That's what it says on there. And it very interesting. I know I posted there's this image that I posted when I made the new meditation that says a man that finds a wife finds a good thing, X, Y, and Z. And there was a gentleman that commented on that post like, basically that's easier said than done. And yeah, there is this thing that people feel like it's hard to find, a good man or good woman or X, Y, and Z. And so, I guess if you want to find a good man, let's be a good woman, right? If you want a good woman, then be a good man, that should get you at least a little bit closer in my little humble opinion. But I can concur that, it's kind of difficult out there being single. So y'all know I have a heart for my single people. Y'all already know that. Hopefully more content coming soon. Hopefully. But anywho, let's keep going again. Let's see. Ooh, here we go. Ephesians 5:22 says, wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. So again, y'all, I mean, that is huge as well. Like just as much as we think that, a man or a husband laying down his life for his wife, right? In turn, women, wives, submitting to your own husband as to the Lord. Now, I mean, even though I believe that the Bible does specifically addresses the issue of a husband that may not be following Christ and what that would look like. So I implore us to go deeper if you are in that particular situation. I believe it is in the go deeper section as well, what the Bible has to say about that. But if we just focus on a righteous man, right? If there's a righteous man that's your husband, then, submit to that man and whatnot, in regards to, how he leads and wants to lead. Again, and I guess that's what goes to say again that it's very important who you marry, because if it's somebody that you don't feel like you can respect and submit to, then why would you marry that person? I can submit to my husband's ideas about, how to do some things differently in our household or financially or whatever the case is. I respect them in that aspect and stuff. And so again, you want to be able to marry somebody that you can do that with. So your, I guess, relationship will do things the way that God created it to be, or how God created it to be. Just saying, just saying. Okay, let me read this first before I tell y'all what just came on my mind. So 1 Peter 3:7, it says, likewise, husbands, love with your wives. I might have wrote that wrong, but anyway, y'all can read it for yourself. Well, love with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your progress may not be hindered. So again, this is another thing for the husbands, is saying to love us in a, in an understanding way as the weaker vessel. Am I offended by that? No, personally, I'm not offended by that. I mean, I can see how I'm, physically weaker than my husband, and things like that. Now, mentally, spiritually, and all the other stuff. I mean, I don't know if it's referring to all of that. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I see what it's saying, and again, showing honor to the woman. So that's another direction for, the man and everything like that. And yeah, I mean, and I guess if you're not doing that in your marriage, then that's probably why certain prayers aren't being answered, or why certain things aren't being aren't growing in your life. I mean, the Bible addresses that, and that is a huge thing to I would say in a marriage. I don't think I put those in the go deeper section, but y'all can look and see what the Bible has to say about, husbands and, infidelity and all these different things. It's in there. It's in there. Y'all just got to take some time to peruse it and let marinate, let it marinate on your heart, souls, and minds. I mean, there's plenty of verses that goes deeper about all of this, both to the husbands, to the wives, and to both of the individuals together. And I've been hearing that it's marriage season, wedding season. I've been hearing this a lot over the past few days. And so, whether you are in that position right now or not, I mean, if you're preparing to be in that position, then hey, and if you heard this, came across this today, hopefully this, helps in some aspect to get you ready and your mind ready and prepared for marriage. Because there, again, as somebody that was struggling single and was praying for this time in my life, and yeah, there's a lot of things that I did receive and I bask in, now, but then there's other things that I didn't expect, and that's just might be a little bit different than I realized, or whatever the case is. There's a lot to know about all of this. And one thing I want to say, I guess, before I let y'all go, or get to the Bible verse today, is that I started to appreciate I appreciate my husband and whatnot when I met him, but there was a time where I kind of was documenting my mindset about marriage and like how it was going and how things weren't lining up the way I imagined and different things like that. And it would bother me and make me feel away. But I would say, like, once I started to walk more in my purpose and do things I feel like that God wanted me to do, like this, right? Like GSL and everything like that. I'm at so much more peace with my marriage, even though there's some things that have changed about the things that I felt some way about, and there's some things that hasn't changed yet. And who knows? Maybe it won't change. I don't know. But I've gotten so much more peace with that once I started to like really walk in my purpose, if that makes any sense. So, I guess it's important to not lose yourself in the process of marriage. I mean, yes, you become, one with someone. But then I'm pretty sure there's still things that God wants us all to do as individuals as well. And so, I don't know. So I'm just sharing that as something that hopefully encourages and inspires people that, especially those that are married and whatnot, that, just because you become one with your husband and whatnot, and, if there's some tension or something like that, seek the Lord, seek his will, seek what it is that he wants you to do about that. We can't just always put things on our spouses and be like, oh, it's that person's fault, X, Y, and Z. Maybe the way that I was feeling about our marriage was kind of my fault because I was out of the will of God, right? I was, procrastinating on doing things like this, or I was procrastinating or staying in my head about, focus so much on the issue versus, the problem solver. Yeah, the problem versus the problem solver. So just things to think about. I know this whole chit chat about, husbands and wives is deep. This is just one little study that I did today about this. And again, y'all can go deeper in the go deeper section. The Bible verse of today is Proverbs 19:21. It says, there are many decrees in, no, wait, devices in a man's heart. Y'all, I need to write better. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. Wait, there's many devices in a man's heart. Something. He has what? I think it's saying, but the counsel of the Lord is what's going to stand. Basically, what that verse is saying. I'm sorry, I jumbled it up. Y'all can look it up for yourselves. Proverbs 19:21. Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all read that on your own. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. There you go, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, anybody listening to the sound of my voice. I hope that you all are encouraged and inspired by today's, by my study today, with the thing that I studied today. Yeah, husbands and wives, this is a deep, deep topic. I mean, I would say go to God for the wisdom regarding that, because this is a, God ordained, God created union and covenant and everything. So, yeah, there might be a lot of people with their opinions about it and whatnot. I might have my opinions and stuff, but I think going to the Word of God is the best place to go for information regarding being a wife, being a husband, being married, any of those things. again, yeah, I felt like that was one important thing that I was reminded of this morning, that, you know, I found much more peace being a wife and dealing with certain issues and whatnot that was in it was in our marriage, might still be in our marriage. Once I became more focused on doing the will of God and stuff. I mean, there might be just things that we got to just pray for our spouse about, like, it's not for me to nag him, right? My husband, and I'm talking about my husband in particular. It's not for me to nag him about what I think he need to do, or what I think, what I thought he should be, or whatever the case is. I had to, kind of look at him for who he is, and yeah, love him for who he is. And things that I might feel like need to be changed, I can take those things to the Lord. I don't have to like nag him about it. That's me though, like, that's how I deal with stuff. I mean, I feel like it's the best way, but hey, who knows if it is or not. But that's what has helped me find peace, right, in the midst of my quote unquote storms. Like, 'cause there were a lot of things that I not say I was in contention about, but I felt some kind of way. I'm like, why is this like this? And why is that not that? I didn't expect it to be like this and whatnot. And so, but I can appreciate my husband for who he is. And there's a lot of things, like, again, I have no issue with submitting to him when it comes to like different ideas and different things that he wants to do, or different visions that he has, or plans that he has in regards to like how he wants to lead our household and stuff. And that's what I'm saying. Marrying somebody that you don't have that issue with is important, in my little humble opinion. So I think we need to take it all a little bit more seriously. I mean, this marriage, wife, husband, all these different titles, and whatnot. It's not just about getting with somebody and having a wedding and whatnot. It's a deeper thing. But anyway, hopefully your girl can come up with more content. I'm praying about it, because there's a lot more ideas and things that's been on my heart and mind. And I'm like, all right, Lord, okay. So, and obviously I seen that this must be something, because I seen at some point there was 6 of y'all on here watching. So something is, I don't know. We're going to see what the Lord do when it comes to me and whatnot, what he want me to do with all this. But I hope that this at least helps and gets something started in our hearts and minds. But anyway, y'all have a great day. I hope that you guys, again, enjoyed the juice and be on the lookout for more. And I look forward to talking to y'all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.